my other left, my right. Now it really threw me off.
Showing.
That's right, Kelly Nazer. To my friend, Bob Hinkie. Next,
I'm Brian Marvel.
Brian Marvel. Thank you. It's
This
nice
is
to meet all of
Michael
you.
Fortune.
Yeah.
Go for the right, for the other left.
Now I'm going with my other right, and that's Bob Washburn, and also Joe Chambers on the end. Glad to have you all with us. We will excuse Tyler Riggs. He let me know that he had another commitment that he had to be at, and so he would be excused from the meeting tonight. But he does plan to be able to attend with us tomorrow at the summit. So appreciate that. I've asked Bob Washburn if he could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you all to stand with us as we do that. Participate.
Flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our first order of business is to take a look at the minutes from May 10th. And I don't know if everybody had a chance to review those. Or if anybody had any comment about them. I personally didn't see anything.
I haven't seen anything that's an issue.
Okay. Shelley, anything that
I think they look great.
great? All right. Well, if nobody sees any need of any corrections or additions, I would entertain a motion that we entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes. from
I'll
last
second
meeting.
that.
Okay, we have a motion by Bob Washburn to accept and a second by Shelley Nazer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. We will move on now to the public comments. This is an opportunity if anybody has any comments that they would like to make in a general nature, if anything that's not pertaining specifically to the items on the agenda tonight. So if anybody has anything that they would like to discuss about that. Tyler, did we have anything come in?
I checked that before and
Nothing.
no text.
Everybody's excited and happy with how things are going. That's wonderful. All right. I nabbed the list of who would like to speak. So if there's anybody else that wanted to speak regarding one of the items tonight, if you'll make us aware, we would add your name on that. You would like to? Okay. Can I have you sign in with that, Will?
Oh, sure.
We just picked it up just a few. You got that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll add my name to that one.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. With that being taken care of, we are going to open up our first hearing, we're going to close the public comments and move on to the public hearing. Item number 1 is the rezone of parcel 02096-0038. The Providence Planning Commission will open the floor of public comment regarding a request to rezone parcel 02096-0038, generally located at 380 West, 300 South in Providence, Utah. The applicant seeks to rezone the parcel from R11 to R110. So we will go ahead and invite those who would like to speak. We don't have a large crowd here tonight for this, although it is in the overview and instructions of how we do that. We limit each person to so many minutes. So I would say that's if we can keep it 2 to 3 minutes, something like that, unless there's a serious issue. That'd be great. We invite those who want to speak to come up to the microphone, state their name, and then so that we can have that on record. So it looks like I have a JD Ray, is that correct?
Yes,
Thank you.
JD Ray. I live here in Providence, and I really was kind of hoping to get straight from y'all. You know, some things are maybe easily understood and some things might be implied, or if you're not in the circle all the time, maybe you just don't always know. But just wanted to hear from y'all kind of a recap or a summary of exactly what this would do for us and that in our neighborhood.
Okay.
What would it allow? Maybe as some examples of what it specifically wouldn't allow. I just want to get a good handle on what it is that we're seeking to do here.
Can you tell me where you live in relationship? to the property?
236 South, 485 West. I'm just catty corner, 1 block from location.
All right. Well, let's do this. The R110 zone that he is requesting, that the owners are requesting, is single family residential, 10,000 square foot lot size, which is what is generally around all that area. I have this.
Brian, can you show us the map on the screen?
Yeah. Bring it up there. The property this here shows the property in blue. There's the 2 pieces there. And if you look at the zoning around it, the darker orange is R10 and the lighter tan is R112. Okay, does
Is
that
there a proposal for how that would be subdivided?
the landowners do not need to come in per se with a design of what they're going to do. They will have an opportunity to speak, but they really don't have to. They just are saying, we're here today to deal with the rezoning issue. Then the next step, if that's, we make it based off what's discussed, we make a recommendation to the city council, and they're the ones with the legislative power that would approve or disapprove of that. And so at that point, then the next step in the homeowner's plans would be to submit a subdivision design. At that point, then is what you would see what they're looking to do. And from the application that they submitted, it says it's basically looking to rezone it so that to the R110 single family residential, 10,000 square foot lots that would match and meet the adjoining surrounding homes and subdivision. Yes.
Is there anything you can give me that is specific to what this zoning would allow for the future, or maybe something that specifically wouldn't
Okay.
allow as an high density? Could somebody come along 10 years from now and try to make this into something that wasn't intended?
Somebody could come along, the landowners could come back and request rezone again for something different. But based on the zoning that, if this was approved, it would be for single family residential with minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. Now, I believe, Scarlett, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, the R110 is for single family residential, but it also could have duplexes, is that correct?
It could have twin homes,
Twin homes.
but the density in this area is only 4.25 homes per net acre.
Okay.
So they
Really,
can't do more than get 4.25 homes.
So basically
So-
8 homes.
Oh, they
depending
got
on
2.5
what they-
acres.
Yeah,
Oh, so 8, roughly.
roughly 8 homes.
Mhm.
Okay.
But they would have to, some of that would come out for road and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would even get 8.
And if they
It just
kept the
depends.
existing home, that might change just based on
Right.
how the home sits on the property.
Right, but they could have a twin home.
Yeah.
And a twin home is a home where person A owns one part, one side of the home, and person B owns the other side. But they own the property. They don't share a common property, they just share a common wall, but they have a dividing lot line between A's lot and B's lot. Different than like a townhome that owns the property underneath the townhome, and then the exterior around is all commonly owned. A twin home owns its lot. It just shares a common wall with the next door house.
But same for similar to place.
It would look like a duplex, but a duplex is generally one building on one lot and someone owns it and rents out 2 different units.
And a
Generally,
duplex could be on top of each other or side to side.
Yeah.
But a twin home is split. It can only be side to side. It can't be top to bottom. So unlike a duplex, a twin home is basically 2 homes with set together on a 0 lot line. They're still both independent homes. A duplex is a home with 2 different units.
Okay,
Thank you all
and
very
so
much.
I hope that helps. And people can come in and request a rezone, but again, I think the biggest thing we try to do is common sense, what fits, with all of that. And what they're looking to do is what's been done all around them. And so I think if somebody was to come in and say, I want to put a auto repair shop, car wash, Chinese restaurant, and high density 5-story buildings, I doubt that would have much of a chance of going anywhere, but people can certainly ask.
Understood.
Okay,
The master plan for that area is residential.
yeah,
And they're asking to move from one density to another.
How do I get that? I tried to find that on the website and I might be doing something wrong.
we can,
If
I'm sorry.
you,
Start
if
it.
you would like to leave me your email, I can send you links to the different places. We just changed our website. Minute, we can give a new plug to our new website design. So, and I'm not as good at just going right down the list of how you get to it. So let me send you some links of how to do that. If you want to just come and write your email down for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reagan.
You just wanna put it on the top of
One
this
item of
paper.
business for our alternates, number 1, with Tyler being absent, you will be a voting member for the items tonight. And then Bob, I'm going to step out because of conflict of interest, so you will be voting on this item specifically. Okay. Okay. I have a reason. I believe it's Eric Hawley. I am he.
I'm the rest of the blue on that map.
Okay, you're the neighbor.
Why,
I'm right here. Oh, you just passed me. I'm the only blue left. And
why
that's interesting.
are you rezoning too?
What?
Why are you rezoning too?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I like my softball field on my front yard. On that question. I just want to mention that I'm very much in support of planning that keeps light neighborhoods, and where this would it would essentially make that block orange, right?
That's
Those-
correct.
Like those around it.
Yeah.
That would match the type of housing that the rest of the neighborhood is. I imagine that when those are subdivided, with my lot being a side lot, I think I do want to review what the lot sizes are and offsets on side lots. And so Scarlett, I appreciate kind of links to the details to see what the offsets on a side lot are. I'm assuming that my adjoining piece would be considered a side lot, or what would be allowed once that was subdivided in actual,
Right.
and actual pieces going in. I would also be interested in hearing from the owners what their plans or timelines may be, if they'd be willing to talk to that.
Well, you're more than welcome to stay after we close the public meeting. Then we'll move on, and that's where the owner would have an opportunity to speak.
Oh, got it.
Discuss that.
Okay, that's not part of that. Not part of
No,
that. Yeah.
the public comment portion was really to let the public have a chance to do that and us answer
Yeah,
questions.
so basically, I mean, I would just love to keep that, keep the Providence feeling contiguous across our neighborhoods. And
Now, would you be available to attend other public meetings? Because since you're in support of things like being like developments and stuff, we seem to get some hostility towards that. Anyway,
hey, I love here. The other thing that I'd mention is I'd rather have this rezoned to be like and get houses that are like built there, as opposed to do nothing and then have it go to high density. That I would very much oppose.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. I have Lisa and Susan, is that right?
Yes, I'm representing my mom. And
Okay.
I'm Lisa, so on that map a moment ago.
If you'll come up here to the microphone, please. And if you would just state your name again
Sure,
for us.
okay.
Before she talks,
Yes.
couldn't we get Mr. Ray a copy of the analysis that Scarlett prepared? Wouldn't that have most of the information?
Yeah, I will email that to him as well.
Thank you, sorry.
No, thank you, John.
So I'm not real familiar with these kinds of things, but I've been in Logan since 2000.
Okay.
But I recently moved my mom out here, helped her move. And on the map that you have open for us is a great opportunity to see her home, which is adjacent to the blue. It's 330 Meadow. And the third house down. 1, 2, 3. This is her house.
So right there.
That right there. Yeah, purchased. It was purchased January.
Oh, yeah, just did. It was
Purchased
yeah.
January 9th.
Yeah.
I helped her pick it out. This is a great place. I love Providence.
Yeah.
So and it's nice to know neighbors who live behind around the area. So I've been shoveling snow and mowing lawn and stuff like that, meeting everybody in the neighborhood for the 4th of July. What I'm here for is simply mature trees
Okay.
that are yes,
Need you to talk.
this way.
You're driving our clerk crazy over here. He's trying to keep notes, wants to keep you on record, so
Thank
you
you.
can talk as much as you can.
Thank you.
And to us, too.
Yeah.
Listen.
So I'm here for the mature trees.
Oh, all right, we heard that.
They're beautiful. And they won't, so there were some comments that were made about, Eric Ray, about the offsets or for side lots. And I don't really know what those words mean. I do GIS, so I'm familiar with some things, but I'm not a planner, more of a natural resource type person.
What it really is talking about, just like on your mother's lot in her home, the setbacks, side setbacks, things like that. Every lot has a setback portion, and based on the zoning of it, it's typically so much for a side that there's nothing is built in there, and then so much for the rear and so much for the front. You see most homes back a ways more from the front. Typically, it's a 20-foot setback. 20.
Yeah, I think your definition, rather than going into amounts, it's the distance from the property line in which you can build. So
Sure.
That's the setback. You, and different zones have different amounts of feet, but it's basically how far you have to be from the property line that your house can be built.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
That's,
I just really appreciate, I come from the land where there's like 200-year-old oak trees. I mean, I really appreciate, and it's against the law to take them down. So I'm very particular about, and in my community in Hillcrest neighborhood in Logan, I think I have the oldest tree in the neighborhood. So I'm very particular about that aesthetic quality that really benefits everybody, and you can't get it back. The lovely thing is that it's almost like right on the line.
Is
So
it-
the
that's what I was
side-
gonna ask you. Are the
Yeah,
trees
we don't know,
on
it's not, no, it is not, but it does obscure the view of the mountains to a certain point. I do have documentation, if I can email it or something, so it could be part of the record, because
You can do
from her
that.
perspective, it's just really something that would benefit all if they were to be retained. So there's some a really sweet little outbuilding that's right across from her back door.
Mhm.
And frankly, it looks like a dollhouse. I don't know if anyone's using it. And I think, so from my perspective, which the mountains are this way, the house is here, the little house that's adjacent to her property is here, and the trees are here.
I think
don't-
that's where Jeff goes when he gets in trouble at home. I'm not certain.
Yeah, so I know someone's out mowing lawns this weekend and all that, and so it's a pleasure to get to know you guys, but you have a lovely piece of property, and I hope, I wish you the best. I'm not here to change any zoning business, it's to prune the trees.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
I appreciate your comments about that. And I think we have to see, I think the property owners, that's one of the things, if it was on your side of the property, you
It's
certainly
not
have.
ours. Oh,
yeah.
so, okay, thank
So
you.
anyway,
One last thing with the mic, simply, if there's any, as we go through time, we can't foresee what's coming, but I don't know much about easements. Like if that property was to be parceled in that line of trees could become a conservation easement or something. Or could we purchase property to maintain that historic line of trees? I don't know. That's
Well,
my thought.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay,
That's something I think you could take up with the
Okay.
owners.
okay.
and see what that
That's all I
is.
wanted to say today.
Thank you very much. And thank you for coming and sharing it. I hope your mom is enjoying it out there.
Yeah, it's been a very soft landing. Welcome neighborhood. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak that hasn't had a chance? With that being said, we are going to close the public hearing portion of the meeting. And we will move on to the legislative portion. And our first item under there is the rezone of parcel 020960038. The Providence Planning Commission will discuss and may make a recommendation to the City Council regarding a rezone request for the parcel 020960038, which seeks to be rezoned from R11 to R110. And as we move forward, I would invite Scarlett up to give us an overview of the application and analysis. And then after that, we would invite the landowner, the Whites, if they have some comments they'd like to make or answer any questions that we might have. Thank you.
Okay. I have to correct something I said a little bit earlier. I said 4.25 units per net acre. It's actually 4.5 units per net acre, but they would still end up with a maximum of 9 homes. But by the time depending on how they design it, by the time they take out the roads and stuff, they probably won't get 9. So, and in preparing for a rezone, we look at state code and we look at Providence City's code and make sure that we're meeting those things. We look at our general plan. We look at our master plans. We look at the city code. And then we draw conclusions. And the state code gives us the opportunity, it gives the legislative body, which is not this body for the audience. The legislative body is the city council. This body is the planning commission. And in land use ordinance, which is what a zoning change is, the planning commission is a recommending body. They're not the approving authority. So it gives the legislative body the power to divide city into zoning districts of various shapes and sizes. A rezone is an amendment to the land use regulation. The planning commission will review the application and make the recommendation to city code. And prior to doing that, the planning commission holds a public hearing, which they just finished doing. And so now they can discuss, they can take more comment if they choose, but then they can make a recommendation to city council. The city's zoning districts include both the R11, which is the existing zone, which is 1 unit per acre, and the R110 districts. The general plan shows the vision and key initiatives, and they are in the findings of fact report. The property is currently zoned R11, as you can see in the illustration in your packet. The general plan didn't anticipate that this property would change its zone. The general plan, keep in mind, is a guideline and we want to follow it. But there are times when something comes along that was not anticipated. So the general plan actually anticipates this would stay R11. In the packet is the general plan information that we have uses our old zoning district titles. And so in the packet that shows a SFE. And then the gold is SFR, which is the single family, or excuse me, is the R110. The framework, the general plan framework suggests the preferred scenario for this area is neighborhood residential. Our moderate income housing plan also asks us to look to make zoning changes that would encourage more affordable housing and improving. One of our goals in the moderate income housing plan was to improve walkability and update our existing infrastructure, which we do have a plan that goes along with this, of improving 300 South with a roadside pathway, which will improve pedestrian safety, walkability, and accessibility on city streets, rights of way, and easements. Having the property zone changed to 10,000 square foot minimum does not necessarily mean that the houses will be down in the actual moderate income housing range, but it does provide an opportunity for homes that may be more affordable than homes on 1 acre lots, which is what it's currently zoned at, is 1 acre lots. The recreation trails plan, this property is within 1/4 mile of a local park, which is Meadow Ridge Park, within 1 mile of 2 neighborhood parks, Alma Lenhart and Uptown Park, and 1 regional park, Zollinger Park. So it's got some park property around it, or within close proximity to it, I should say. It also, the park open space river trail plan also proposes 300 South be approved with the roadside pathway that we've discussed. The transportation plan suggests that 300 South is a major collector. It is also, and I made a mistake on my notes. I said without limited access, but it's actually showing as a limited access road. It's that gold color road. So having the design done so that there's 1 access and the houses front that access and limit the accesses onto 300 South would be a beneficial thing to do. We also look at our 40-year water right plan. This property was in the city and was taken into account when that 40-year plan was put into place. So we do have water rights on hand, but we also, as the property develops, the developer will be required to bring water at that point in time. The 2020 wastewater master plan also looked at this area. And when the property is developed, the property owner or the developer will put in sewer mains, sewer service lines will be installed as part of the development. The impact fee will be collected at that time, because we do realize that there are going to need to be some zoning improvements to our overall system, and that's what the impact fee goes for. So that's how we handle looking at those. The stormwater master plan is treated similar. When the developer comes in, the developer, when the property is developed, if needed, additional stormwater facilities will be installed as part of the development construction. And then the culinary water system plan, different than our 40-year plan. Our 40-year plan is where are we getting the water from? The culinary water system plan is how do we get the culinary water to our residents? Again, it looked at this area and identifies recommended system improvements. We have enacted an impact fee to be used for the identified system improvements. So when the property is developed, water main and service lines will be installed as part of the development construction. The impact fee will be collected at the time of zoning clearance to be used for the identified system improvements. As far as sensitive areas, the land, this GIS parcel indicates this property does not have potentially developable areas as defined by Providence City Code. The liquefaction scale shows two options, moderate to high and high. Our code calls out high or extreme liquefaction potential. And so, but those things will be dealt with when a building permit comes in or when a subdivision comes in. They will have to do a geotech study and make sure that everything is suitable at that time. We also have, and I've included in the report, a comparison. This is not the entire use chart, nor is it the entire regulation area chart, but it does compare the R11 zone to the R110 zone. And I'll go over those changes in a second. But the conditions going along with this, prior to making a recommendation to City Council, the Planning Commission shall hold a public hearing. So you've already achieved the first condition. At point in time when development becomes, when someone chooses to develop and applies for it, they will need to address the comments in Aaron Walker's letter. That will it will depend on how many lots and how they lay the lots out, things like that. So it's a bit premature at this point to get into that. They will, at some point, they will need to address his comments. And then our final condition is that the applicant shall meet all applicable city, state, and federal laws, codes, rules. Approval by the city of any application submitted or paperwork does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. So I'm not going to go through every single thing that's different, but I am going to point out some highlights. The R11 zone is a residential district for single-family detached homes with a minimum lot size of 43,560 square feet, or 1 acre per lot. The home businesses may be allowed as permitted or conditional uses. The R110 zone is a residential district for single-family detached homes, 10,000 square feet minimum lot size, 1 unit per lot, 4.5 units per net acre, and home businesses may be allowed as permitted or conditional uses. So first big thing that's different is lot size. The next thing that's different is the lot width measured at the setback line. In the current zone, it's 120 feet. In the R110, it's 80 feet. The maximum units per net acre in the R11, you can only have 1 per acre. In the R110, you can have 4.5. The next difference that really pops up is in the uses. And in the R11, you cannot have a twin home, but in the R110, you can. So you can have 2 separate homes on 2 separate lots with a 0 lot line and an adjoining wall. You can't have multiple homes like that because you can only have one wall touching there in the twin homes. So there is that. Neither of these zones allow for apartments. They don't allow for multifamily, threeplexes or fourplexes or large apartments. An R110 zone does allow for cluster development, which means they could crunch, depending how they did it, if they crunch the homes up, they may could have more open space, but they can't reduce the lot size and they can't reduce the density. So on a piece as small as this, it would be difficult to do a cluster development, but there is that option if they wanted to figure out how to have some kind of common space in their proposal. And there are some other minor differences throughout, but for all intents and purposes, those are the ones that most people call and have concerns about. So, questions?
Thank you, sir.
I just have one question to clear up. It was the change in the transportation access. Did you say that they're not like supposed to access 300 South?
We need to limit the accesses on 300 South. So there can be access onto 300 South, but we would request that their subdivision be designed so that you wouldn't have necessarily 4 lots that access onto 300 South. You may have one street that comes into it and then the lots access off of that street, or you may have 2 lots that access off of 300 South and then the main street coming in, depending on the design. But we would try to limit the number of accesses coming out onto 300
So
South.
access points.
Yes.
Not so. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, a road with a cul-de-sac.
Right, that
be
would work.
acceptable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's the way the rest of the street has been developed, almost exclusively.
They tried to do that the way it was.
And can you just remind me about the lane, like private lane? Those are only accessible to 2 houses, is it 2 or is it 3?
Well, they can do a private road, which is different than a private driveway.
Okay.
But the private road has to be built very similar to, yes, to road standards, where a private driveway can only serve 2 homes, and it has to still be built. It doesn't have to be built as wide as a private street or a public street. It has to be built to withstand a 75,000 ton vehicle. So it has pretty much the sub base and the bases are similar. Mostly it's just that private driveway doesn't need curb, gutter, and sidewalk and can be narrower. So. Anything else?
Anybody, any other questions for Scarlett?
Let me get this straight. This is an R110
Mm-hmm.
rezoning 2. R110 is 10,000 lots, 10,000 square feet
Minimum.
minimum.
So they could have 12,000 or 11
Then if
or
we go the other
13.
way, if they were to build twin homes, R110, then now we're going to 6,000 square foot lots.
Right, they would have to increase the lot size, the overall. Each twin would have to have 6,000 square feet. So that particular area would need 12,000.
Okay, so then,
But they couldn't increase the density above the maximum density that's specified. So that also limits it. So there's another limitation in there.
it's a double limitation.
Correct.
Okay, and then, if it's, is there any other zoning that allows for twin homes? Is it just R110? Or is it, some of the other?
I don't remember if R18 does or not.
I believe R18 does.
I think R18 does, but again, they have to have the 6,000.
overriding?
Anything else?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Scarlett, very much. We'd be happy to invite you guys up, or Jeff, or whoever would like to.
All right. Sorry to leave Eric Holly with the only blue zoned area in the neighborhood. But we've had over the last 4 or 5 years, several developers and real estate people wanting to buy our property so they could do the same thing. And we've just said no because our son has his horse there. He's a cowboy, team roper. And we like the horse and we like the neighbors to come in and feed him apples all the time. Anyway, so what instigated this whole thing was with the city wanting to put the bike path in. And I'm a civil engineer, electrical engineer, project manager. So I look towards the future when I do a project. And I'm thinking, well, why should we pass away and let a developer do the same thing later on? And we're not asking to go, higher density than our neighborhood. We're just thinking if this is the time to do this, it would be better now, so we don't have to, we could stub everything in, and we don't want to develop it right now. We just figure we should have the equity for the development later on after we're gone, rather than some other developer. So that's kind of what's driven this whole thing. And so, we love our house, we love our trees next door to you, and the playhouse, but I've never got stairs put up into, where my son grew up already. Anyway, we would want to keep that house intact with the half acre. And there's different ideas to do the subdivision and everything else. And so anyway, I apologize for all of the trouble and all the.
No trouble at all.
Okay, probably easier now than later on. And if there's any questions, glad to entertain them.
Anybody have any questions?
This is not applicable to the rezone request, but I am curious. If the city's gonna help, or if you have plans to put that sidewalk through and kind of make it match the existing areas.
Well, what we offered was to do anything beyond what the sidewalk and curb and gutter for the stubbing in. We'd be glad to pay for that now. If we can figure out the developments with the limits to the access on Third South and everything, we'd be glad to pay for that. So we didn't have to tear up the roads. Somebody will have to do it later on if we don't do it, but if it was allowed, so.
I think the big thing is the city has plans for
Right.
upgrading that, and so the road work doesn't have to be torn
Been a
up
couple
later on.
bad accidents there with the narrowness of the roads.
And made a perfect timing for it. Carol, anything that you?
No, I think so. Thank you, though.
Anybody else, anything for the Whites? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody who's here. Now we'll go ahead and discuss it amongst ourselves. If you have any questions, concerns, and I'm going to ask Brian if he will take over that discussion and then for the vote. On
You're
that.
going to recruit.
Not recused, I'm just gonna step aside
Okay.
so that the alternates can vote. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Shelley, anything you'd like to discuss about this?
I think it's a great plan. I think that definitely the road work does need to happen there. I think that's a really good step, especially to improve the infrastructure. Our plan, I think this is a good place where we can rezone for more affordable housing and try to meet those goals that we have in place.
So what is the Is there going to be an agreement between the city and the Whites outside of a normal development agreement? I'm sorry, besides the zoning, where we're talking about sidewalks, curbs, gutter, street, finishing the street?
So at this point, the city owns the future road. So we will widen the roadway. We will pipe the storm drain and put in a bike lane and sidewalk. We have presented an agreement because with them that at the edge of the sidewalk, in order to make the sidewalk be even across the property, it will have an effect onto their property in the first few feet. And we have presented an agreement to be able to manage between that. So the city is taking care of the road improvements. This was in place and a grant acquired through TIP and TAP, and we have 4 different grants we've combined together into this project. But at that point, we were planning to finish 3rd South so that from 2nd West to the highway, we could have a full bike lane and everything. This is the one piece in that really on that side of the road that doesn't. You'll know that Barrows is taken care of by the White Width because the Fox Hollow is going to put in theirs, and the development of the car wash is going to put in theirs, and then we'll have a full, fully developed south side basically. So this was planned. We came to them, we talked to them about our plan. They said, hey, you know what? This is a good time for us to be able to maybe rezone. The rezone and the road improvements are totally and separate. Whether you approve or disapprove of the rezone, we are planning and have the right of way to build and finish that road section.
So then the city is going to develop their unfinished street, the property there that the city owns. They're going to develop that and finish the street with the intention of finishing the street. So that will be right up to their property line.
Correct.
Okay, and then the Whites have agreed to develop that as well as far as getting curb and gutter going, or is that?
So if the Whites, this is the benefit of the timing is if the Whites want to tee into the water or sewer while it's there, while the road is open, that would be at their cost. And so the difference would be, do they put in a 1-inch line and connect and have a single house, or do they put in an 8-inch line and have capacity for 8 houses? I mean, that's and any of that would be all to their cost.
None of that is required in this zoning.
None of that's, and it wouldn't be required unless it were in a development, and they're actually not to the development stage. So
Right. So we're not doing, I know we're not doing development here.
Right.
That's when the curb and gutter has to go in. I'm just wondering, is there anything?
we're gonna put in curb and gutter with the road project. That's part of that. Correct. That's part of the city project.
But that's not normal.
It
If
can be
device-
when we're looking at developing drainage. I mean, because we're piping the storm drain, we have to curb and gutter it. So,
I just thought that the curb and gutter was all done because there's a development going in. That's,
oftentimes it is. This not always. Especially if you can get grant to pay for it, or somebody else.
Oh, so the city intends in the not too distant future to,
We have a project that's been bid, contracted, and ready to go.
oh, okay, we're on the edge. Then.
We're gonna do it.
And the city's gonna go all the way into sidewalk, curb gutter, parkway, sidewalk. Some of that is on the Weiss property. And then finishing the road that belongs to the city already.
Right, similar to like what we did with First South. We did the whole stretch of there. We'll finish it. So, yeah.
We're talking about my house. Okay, never mind. Okay, it's beautiful. We've been landing 747s on Atlantic.
Yes. I'll remember that with my 182.
Okay. Mr. Yankee, you got.
I don't have any questions. I think it's a good plan and I support it.
I'm in favor of this. I think the timing is good and it makes sense to have it be the same zone as those in the neighborhood.
Great. I feel the same way. The zoning makes a lot of sense. Wild card, Mr. Wild Card. Okay. Okay. If there's no more questions or comments, concerns, to hear a motion.
I would make a motion that we recommend to the city council an approval or a recommendation of the rezone of parcel 02-096-0038 from R11 to R110.
Okay, I've got a motion. Shelley Nazer, and I've got a second.
Joe Chambers.
Oh, Joe. Second by Joe Chambers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, recommendation will be sent to the city council. And they'll act accordingly. Thank you for your time and your effort. And thank you, Michael, for this great opportunity.
There's more where that came.
Those might not be in order.
All right.
I didn't think about that.
We will move on to our administrative action items. This is item number 3 on our agenda, a lot line adjustment. The Providence Planning Commission will consider and may take action on a request for a lot line adjustment requested by James Johnson involving tax ID 03086, 0016, and 03086, 0001 in the general area of 520 Edge Hill Drive. I would invite
Step down to, excuse me, to call one of the applicants who isn't here tonight.
Oh,
See if she
okay.
can contact them.
Is it for this item?
James, is anybody here for this item? I think
Okay, so let's look at that item. Can we? That maybe are coming.
If they're not here,
Yeah.
the traditions.
is anybody here for the Parkview Heights?
Okay. Let's skip this item for right now, item 3. We will move to item number 4. The Parkview Heights lots 3, 4, and 5 amended final plat. The Providence Planning Commission will consider and may take action on a request to amend the final plat for Parkview Heights lots 3, 4, and 5. The plat analysis, we will set. Do you want to run that past us or?
Sure, we can go through.
Okay.
And when she gets back, she can correct anything that I've done wrong.
Do we have representatives for this?
We do have a representative. And they are looking to modify 3 lots slightly. We look at the general plan, the vision, the key initiatives. We've talked on the previous issues, we talked about the finding of fact. We go through the general plan. We go through each of the master plans and identify any issues that might be different with those. These are lot line an adjustment, and that's been the code, the state code there has changed to allow that. I'm going to go through and assume that you've read the staff here. The conclusions are that we have that the Providence has enacted ordinances. Planning Commission is the land use authority for the subdivisions. The general and master plans, the proposed lot line plan consists of is consistent with the general and developed master plans. The proposed adjustments meet the definition of the lot line adjustment. The original proposed plat calls out public utility easements, and they do not refer to or show any municipal utility easements. Dominion Energy and Rocky Mountain Power are notified. See, she's back before I got finished. The plan does not contain a municipal utility easement. So if you look at the adjustments, this is the previous and this is the proposed, and you'll notice that there is just slight adjustment in order to align so that the building envelope and the construction could fit onto those. So at that point, you'll see that there is just that slight adjustment in making sure that they have space and that for each of the designed lots. And you have anything to add?
No, mainly it just started with lot number
You gotta
5.
come to the mic if you have anything to add, you gotta come to the mic.
Nothing much. Started with lot number 5, with the purchaser would like a little bit more backs in the back of the lot, a little more space, and so we've just adjusted.
Please state your name for us.
Oh, I'm sorry, D Barrett.
So started with that one to give him a little more.
Along the north side.
Okay.
Adjust it, and then this one adjusts a little bit more, balances the lots.
Where's Corey?
Not in the picture anymore.
Yeah, he's purchased some other land. We'll probably be hearing from him.
Oh, he was here.
Yeah, he did so good for us.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Concerns?
Yeah.
No,
Dean, what was the reason for the movement on these? Is to, you want to straighten one out? So it's
Yeah,
narrower?
there's more straighten out lot number 5 so that they can put the home in that they want to. And so then we just adjusted lot
So,
4.
so
So that
Building
they could-
envelope. issue.
Yeah,
And, the other owners, I guess. Well, anyway,
yeah. Lot number 4 now is owned by my daughter and her husband, and we own 3. And so we've just kind
So
of,
everybody's all on. There's
Yeah.
No contention or any issue that way.
nope.
Anyone, any concerns?
It's pretty straightforward. I drove up there and looked at it. Looks like there shouldn't be any issue with doing it. In fact, it looks like a better option to have that lot a little bit bigger.
Perfect. Okay,
I'm just curious, is this phase 2 on the other side of the road? I'm just looking at the small lot at the beginning of the cul-de-sac. Is
Lot
it?
number 1,
Yeah. Is that an appropriate size?
yes,
Just a smaller home or
yes.
something, okay.
everybody okay?
yeah, it's great. We just don't see lots this big lately anymore. So
That's true.
this is good. And they're
Thank you.
relatively flat. And then
Yes.
they drop off. And this doesn't affect the special easements.
No,
That's all taken care of behind us.
It's great of you to work with the home builder to adjust.
Thank you very much. All right. If everybody feels okay, we got all the information we need. More questions or concerns? Then I would look for a motion.
I have a question. Scarlett. I'm not gonna ask Ryan. Scarlett. There's no, I forgot Ryan. Okay, never mind. It looks great. Don't see an issue.
Would
Thanks.
you like them to widen the road?
No, I could have put back in my memory what fell out.
All right, if everybody's good, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve item number 3, lot line adjustment for tax ID.
Item number 4.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Item number 4, Parkview Heights, lots 3, 4, and 5, and then final plat.
Subject to.
Uh,
Do we have any conditions?
Yes.
Subject to
Subject
conditions,
to the conditions,
findings of fact.
and findings of
And
fact
conclusion of it.
and conclusion of law.
Thank you very much.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Bob Washburn, a second by Brian Marble. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passed. Scarlett, I believe you were checking on.
I did, and it sounds like the local representative is MIA for a minute, and so James Johnson is actually in Idaho, but if you are willing to have him talk to you via phone, I can call him and you can ask him questions with him on my phone, so that's up to you.
What does everybody think? It's, it is a lot line adjustment. We're looking at this.
Let me explain
Yeah.
really quick, the difference between this one and the other one.
Yes.
The other one did an amended plat because they're relocating public utilities.
Okay.
This one is not. They're just moving property lines. There's no relocation of any public utility easements, municipal utility easement, nothing like that. And so this one is following the way the state code is now presents to do lot line adjustments when there's no other
No other issues.
issues. So
Okay.
that's the difference, but I'm happy to call James and you can ask him questions if you want, just whatever you want me to do here.
So let me ask the other members here that everybody would be in support of that. Typically in the past, we've tabled something of a representative here, but
Yes,
is
I would have you send him a Zoom link.
everyone okay if we communicate via phone?
Phone is a viable option or Zoom link is a viable option, but if they're not present or available to the planning commission, we have postponed those. So
Even on the small. Oh, yeah.
James is the developer, is that, or who is?
James is the applicant. He's representing John Vanderford. John passed away a little while ago. James is one of his sons and by marriage and is representing the
He's the one
estate.
handling it and everything.
Oh, okay.
So
So it's a lot line adjustment. And so that's rather a smaller item. I can see on the big zoning changes and all, like, that's even our tradition has been to hold back.
right, but I can call him. He's
Yeah.
waiting,
Oh,
so,
that's right.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah,
everyone?
yeah, I think that's.
okay.
Okay, all right, then let's move forward that way. We can clear this off of our agenda.
Hi, James. Let me turn my volume up as much as I can on my phone. And then I'm gonna put the speaker down and you and I can share this speaker. James Johnson is, I'll let you introduce yourself and then I'll hurry and review our staff report a little bit and then the commission can ask you some questions, okay?
Sounds good. James Johnson, I'm the youngest son of John and Deanne Vanderford. John passed away this last August 15th. I've been made the personal representative. I'm in charge of the estate. Jennifer is my sister. She and Steve built their house next to my parents quite a while ago. And part of that was that my parents always owned the backyard, and there was a lot of discussion when they were still alive that, oh, claim deed or something is coming on. The best I can see is that that didn't come to fruition. And so this is just essentially the estate trying to distribute some of the estate's assets to inheritors.
Right.
They have been using that backyard. I think they have a shop on it. They've done the landscaping. They have sprinkler systems in and things like that. So the idea is to do a quick claim deed. I think that's what's going to happen to the county. I'm not sure what's going on there, but we've done a boundary line adjustment to add the portion behind her house to her parcel, and that's what we're trying to do here today.
So that's the line we see between the house and the shop, is that correct?
so this was original. This is proposed.
Okay.
And I can't hear you guys very good, so.
They were
Thank
just
you.
showing on the map, where the old line was and where the new line is in relationship to what Jennifer and Steve will own.
Yeah, so it would essentially, that northern boundary would just continue straight back to, and intersect with the, I guess, the eastern boundary of the parcel.
Okay, sounds good.
I do. James, this was a confusing one. This is Brian Marvel.
I can hear you very good. You speaker closer.
I'm as close as I can get without swallowing it. And I can't see you very well, by the way. Okay, so, well, we've got two lots in question. I'm not sure what the applicant is, or what the application is for. We have the center piece that belongs to the lot behind two lots in question. Yes? That's a question for
The center
Scarlett.
piece
Yeah.
Is part of, the bigger lot made kind of a T. It
Yeah.
had- And so they're taking one of the legs of the T off, so you've got the centerpiece. So then they're turning the T into an L. And then the far south, they're turning into a bigger rectangle.
Deeper. It's a deeper right there. Okay, yeah, it wasn't obvious in the application. So we're gonna go from a T to a larger lot and an L. So the current T lot is undeveloped. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, you just need it cleaned up so that you can do your due diligence as a trustee or whatever. Yeah.
So each one of the siblings will, there's 7 of us. Jennifer Stringham was given.
Okay, I understand better. I read this one, I read it backwards, forwards. And I understand now what you're trying to do. Well, all we're seeing is the current situation. Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions that they would like to ask?
I just want to, so it's just that bit right there,
Yes.
just the yellow, just going straight back.
Okay. Again, Shelley was just clarifying the lot, the shape of the new lot, the new lots. So,
There.
Yeah, so the current, my sister's current lot, essentially the line would continue back. It would, it's 0.22 acres that would be added to her house lot. So it actually kind of cleans things up, in the area as far as that boundary and everything. It makes it a lot more clear and understandable, I believe.
You're okay with the lot size and the zoning on it for today?
We're just trying to add to her lot, and that would basically take care of her. And then, yeah, as things progress, I don't know if the house is going to go for sale or what, but that'll all come out in the end.
Thank you very much, James. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Is there anything else that you want to add, Scarlett, or that we need to make us aware of?
so I'm just gonna quickly refer, I won't go through the whole thing because it's very similar to the other. The process is just a little bit different though. We didn't do an amended plat. We're doing you will sign a notice of approval of a lot line adjustment. And if you approve it,
Right.
then the planning commission chair signs that. And we take that to the county recorder and they record that. On the Stringham and Johnson side of things, they need to prepare the deeds that make the changes. And then they will record those deeds. Our recording of the approval of the lot line adjustment does nothing as far as changing any type of title.
Right.
So in order for them to actually make the title change, they need to do their part on the recording, and they will prepare what deeds they need to through their title companies and whatnot. So, but there was a staff report, there is a staff report included in your packet that does talk about what the findings of fact that we look at, the conclusions. And basically the conclusions are that changing this lot doesn't have an impact on any of our general plan or master plans. It's still within the zoning. I will say that parcel A, should they choose to build something on there, to build a residence on there, that will be tricky because they will have to meet setbacks and everything. But it is not impossible. So that's why it's still showing as a valid parcel instead of saying non-buildable or something.
Right.
So then on the conditions, the notice of lot line adjustment approval needs to be recorded that I just explained. A document of conveyance needs to be recorded on behalf of, that's what James and his family will do. They'll record the deeds, which would be documents of conveyance. And then the applicant needs to continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, and Providence City rules, laws, codes, ordinances. Approval by the city of any application or paperwork submitted does not alleviate the owners and or agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated.
Thank you.
James, you got a copy of all that. I believe I emailed that to you a little while ago.
Yeah, I read through that, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody, any other concerns or questions? Any clarification? Okay. Scarlett, I think we have that. If James wants to stay on while we vote, then I'll go ahead and entertain a motion. Do we need to discuss any more? Yeah, I'm good. You're good, Shelley? Okay. I think we're ready for a motion. A couple more. Yeah.
I can go ahead and make that, sorry.
Okay,
I move that we approve, item number 4 of the agenda. No,
Three.
hold on. Shift that around. Item number 3, the lot line adjustment for, parcels 03086 0016 and 03086 0001, in the area of 520 Edge Hill Drive, per the applicant's request. Considering the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and conditions.
we have a motion by Shelley Nazer,
Second.
second by Bob Washburn. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, James.
It passed, James. I will get with you tomorrow.
Hey, thank you very much. Cash title is, they're ready to go on that, the deed stuff, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. I just have two last quick items to mention as we wrap up tonight. I wanted to remind everybody again about the Cash Summit tomorrow, 5 to 8 up at the university, for those who can make it. I think it'll be real good for the presentation that they prepared, sponsored by Bragg. So that's the one thing. The other thing is we got a request from the Housing Crisis Task Force, who has presented to Providence before. I don't know if all of you have had a chance to hear it or was in attendance and did it to the city council. It was from the Housing Task Force that was put together before, and about the needs and options available. And I discussed it with the city and individuals, what we thought we should do. It mentioned that one of the things we came up with was that it was recorded. And I thought at that point, if anybody on the planning commission who had not heard it or wasn't aware of it, if they could go back and watch that presentation, that meeting that night. I got this message. The presentation was on August 17th, 2022, and begins at minute 31 on the video. It says there is nothing to watch. The video only has the council and audio of Sean Malign speaking in the background. The presentation is not shown on the video. I haven't had a chance to go and look at that. But what I did do was, former Mayor John Drew of Providence and the others from that task force, the chairs, co-chairs, mentioned that they had gotten some updates and that they was offering to do a question and answer session. So I wanted to make everybody on the commission aware of that and to see if there was a desire to have them present that to the planning commission or to request that additional information can be emailed and sent out to us, and our questions could be handled that way, back and forth with the co-chairs, and that we could move forward that way. I wanted to find out what you all wanted to do.
What's the topic again?
It was the housing crisis in the valley, and it was about the number of homes that need to be built, the number of demands that there were, the pricing. What else would you say, Ryan? How would you describe it? It was towards that and the crisis of being 2 or 3 years behind. Part of it was that they were saying this is the need that we have, that we are short 3,500 homes, but also at the same time, there was a lot of things approved in the pipeline that had been approved through several municipalities here in the valley, cities, groups, that I think we had over 1,000, 1,200 units already approved. So, but they have, so that's where we're at. I think if it's something you would like to follow up with more, I would say let's attend, those who can attend the presentation tomorrow that Bragg has offered. There's one of the main presenters was with Bragg from the task force that was done. And let's see what questions we may have, and then maybe we can communicate by email specifically and ask for updates or something.
I think an email thread would be great to get started on this, so we can see the URLs and the parties involved and ask some pointed questions. And as you know, I like to get things clarified.
Right.
So,
Tyler, would you check for me to see if I know the presentation was made. I was here in attendance that night, so I don't know if they were just what happened. But if it is viewable, then that's where I would have everybody start.
And if they had submitted something, then that would have been added to the agenda. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know. We can look.
So anyway, if we could just check, that would be great. That was the second thing.
On that note, can I ask, I remember hearing something probably in city council meeting, but we had talked about updating tech so that the camera does pick up the speakers. Is that something that's still in the pipeline?
Yes.
Do we have a timeline on that?
No.
I agree with
Yeah.
the rep. I think I have watched a few of those meetings, and it's hard to
Yeah.
when you don't know who's speaking. You kind of want to put a face to the audio.
It's budgeted. We have a few different cameras that we're testing out. We have a few different ones we've interviewed, but the short answer is no, I don't have a timeline at this point. But I do have one item that I'd like to present to the council or to the commission just real quickly, when you're ready for
I
it.
think we're ready. My last thing was to ask if anybody had. All right, you want to go first?
no, I'm out to really.
All right.
We have created this document. This is a GIS form that we use to track things, and I just thought it might be interesting for you to know. I've asked the county if they wouldn't create something similar countywide, but what this gives us is this is the construction of residential units by year from 2000 to 2023. You can see in the last, starting in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, multifamily outpaced single family construction in those 4 years. So you can see at the pace, there was 1 year back here in 2004 that we did that, but from the map, you can see that that where the multifamily housing is located, and how it is allocated. This kind of gives a picture of how much is single family versus how much is in each of the different multifamily category spots. So almost 78% of our housing stock is in single family housing. So we have 2,413 single family units. We have 568 multifamily units. We have 472 buildable lots currently approved. And we have 797 developable acres within inside the city. So anyway, it's just kind of a dashboard that we internally we use, and I just thought it might be interesting for you to know that we're watching and keeping track, and just to kind of give you an idea of some of the tools that we use from the staff perspective. So anyway.
I think that's fantastic. All the stuff that are thinking of and asking and have their own perspective, and oftentimes, I was curious, my first thought came is, can we put that up on the website? And then
It's an internal working document, so it wouldn't be a public document at this point, but potentially at some point we could.
Can you freeze it and put it on there each year?
At this point, it's live data pulled off the county parcel viewer. So it's,
Well, are things that are in the pipeline that haven't been built yet?
that's what this is, as long as they've been approved and recorded, but not yet built. That's what this number is, buildable lots. That's the
but it doesn't
percentage.
show where they are on the map.
No,
Does
that's
it count
correct.
for the zoning of those?
Not just that they're lots. So, I mean, there's lots of things that this could eventually grow, but this is one of the starts that we just thought. I thought I'd just give you a picture. You were welcome to send me in items that sure.
I'd like to see that over time. I want to see if it's rapidly shrinking or expanding, or if it goes up and down, but I'll email you.
At this point, the nice thing with this is if we had a goal, it's hard to make a goal when you don't know what the current status is. But if we had a goal that we wanted to maintain a threshold of 75 or 65 to 75% at single family, and we knew what was coming and what was being built, we could monitor and watch what that goal might accomplish. So if we said the goal was 75% and the public said, oh, well, yeah, we've seen a lot of it, but we're like, yeah, but we're only 2% off of our goal, and we're not like 1,000 units off of our goal. Anyway, that makes sense. So it gives us opportunities of showing our growth and monitoring our growth over time of how we're doing. So
The image show the buildable lot?
No.
No. no.
Is this something you could share with us, with the city council?
Not at this.
Yeah, we're sharing it right here. It's being shared. So, yes, I'm sharing. Shelley, this is my way of, I'm trying to share.
What is the Thank you so much.
Our GIS technician is have the summer off. He's got a summer intern somewhere else, but then he comes back during the summer. So,
Would you mind if we take a
no, that's fine. That's what it is currently.
Go back, it looks like the third year back from over here, where it's flat line basically. So going back like where you were, right there. It's almost, I'd be curious what the circle is at that point,
5.
where all that's been added in those 3 years.
There were 7 built here. There were 5 built there. Kind of gives me a little, if I
So
hover
the
it.
percentage, you said we're about 70 some odd percent residential housing. It was probably at that time much higher.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anyway, Sorry, I just,
Another question, don't take that down until I think. Is the 472, is that part of 797? Or you add those together to see what's available?
no, they're different. One is by acreage and one is by lots. So they are separate. One is vacant acreage and one is vacant actual building lots. So some lots are very large.
So the
but
472 is, they're approved lots for building which haven't been built. And the others have no plans at this point. It's just acreage.
It's just, I wouldn't tie those together. They're just acreage. But the interesting point is, if we look at the number that was built last year, we had 32 single family and 39 multifamily built in 2022. If you take the buildable lots divided by the number that's built, you can see the number of years of inventory we have on hand. Yeah.
In a specific area for the most part, which is what we intended. Commercial and walkable and stuff like that.
Layer it with zoning or the different plans. So we
I
compare.
believe Shelley will have quite a few recommendations.
This doesn't include any ADUs.
No,
It doesn't.
Okay,
Oh, with that, thank you, Bob. We're gonna move right into my questions, study on ADUs. I had somebody come to me the other day that wanted me to explain the ADU process they're going through. They had a garage that was crushed by the snow. And so they're rebuilding it and they'd like to put an ADU in it. So what comes to mind is about 6 months ago, we had the gentleman come in and he had built a piece of secondary building on his lot. And he, with the intention of putting an ADU in it. And that the building was X and the ADU inside of it was X minus 100 or whatever. So that is possible. We could, somebody could take an existing lot, an existing building on a lot and convert up to 1,200 feet of it to ADU. Is that correct? Or am I misinterpreting that?
No, that's correct. But the difference is that's a building that exists. It's built, and at the time that the ADU ordinance was in place, that building existed before that, so they didn't know about new setbacks and everything. The difference here is, even though they're putting back a building that was there, it's a new build. And when you do a new build, then you have to conform to current ordinances. And the way the current ordinance is that the ADU can be no bigger than 1,200 square feet, but
Building that holds the ADU, maximum 1,200 square feet.
or 50% of the primary structure. It can't be more than 1,200 feet, but if your primary structure was only 2,000 square feet, then the ADU could only be 1,000 square feet. So the biggest problem is just that even though it was existing, it is a new build, and then they have to conform to new building codes and the current ordinance.
So somebody wants to put a secondary building on their lot, like a barn or something. And they build it and they enjoy it. If they build it today, and then 2 years from now, they want to put an ADU inside of it. Well, what's the thought? What's the challenge behind that?
I don't know, but the way the ordinance reads, the building has to existed before 2020, something 2022. I can't remember the actual date. Part of that, Brian, was just so people couldn't build detached buildings at a detached building setback, and then 2 years later come in and want to convert part of it to the ADU, which has different setbacks. And so they build the detached building because they know they can have smaller setbacks. Then they come in and convert it later. This was
And
to help,
that's the issue that we dealt with
Right.
6 or 7 months ago.
right. And the thought is that those buildings that had been built before the ordinance was put in place, that we should consider allowing them to utilize it. But new buildings that are going to come in and use it need to be built to the current standard.
Okay, so that this individual in mind, and they want to put a building in, and they want to include space inside of the building for an ADU.
Yeah,
Then the setbacks, is it just a setback issue?
no,
It's-
it's a size issue now because it's a brand new building. That building never, that building currently met the
I'm
setbacks.
just thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
it's good size. It's got a house on it. And now they're thinking, okay, what should we do with it? Well, they're thinking about an ADU.
They could build 2 buildings. One is an ADU and one would be the detached garage, and the ADU could then be built to the size compliant, and the garage could be built to whatever size they needed. No,
It's just the logic.
I know.
We struggled with it before, and I came to understanding it was the wrong understanding.
Yeah, I know the logic and I understand where you came from, and I worked on this for a little while,
Oh, I know. Maybe
so
yeah.
yeah.
So it's-
no worries.
No, I think it's clear now, much more clear.
Okay.
Well, my question was for Scarlett.
Oh,
I thought if a building got destroyed, that if you replaced it within a year and you hadn't abandoned the non-conforming status of it.
There are
they
some,
could replace it.
there are some grandfather clause in that. But if you're changing the use from the original use, the grandfathering doesn't come through with that. That's my understanding, that if you're building it like for like, and you're building back to match, but you don't get additional rights after, if it's destroyed, you remain grandfather rights. But
It is.
that's, I actually checked with our city attorneys and I got a couple different ones and they came back and had the same thing, that they could build the original building back. And the original building isn't non-compliant, by the way, so they don't need to worry about that rule. They can build a building. The problem is that adding the ADU now under the current code, they would need to follow the current code.
They might be able to do it in a 2-step, if they age the transaction. So,
They built the original one back
and then.
the way it was, and then applied for an ADU.
And then came in after a while, asked for an ADU.
And that is a possibility? Are we
She's
gonna
not
have
saying-
to?
She's not saying that, she won't say it,
that's right.
but I'm.
That's correct.
I know, this
We
is,
won't say
we got
that.
these faces and then we got the real faces.
No, I'm
I'm
not.
not sure what we're seeing. That's what I told her, basically, is city is. And
I
then you
can't-
are, and then you gotta.
I can't guarantee what will happen in the future. That's why I always tell people what they can do under the current code.
These people want the future. No. They look at it and say, we're gonna rebuild it. I make more money now, so I can afford to put in the building, and then we can include the ADU, which, to them is sewer and water and conformance.
Just have them do the 2 buildings. And then they know what they've got. But if they wait to do it in the future, there's no guarantees of what your code will say in the future.
Well, okay, then let's go back to the ADUs in general.
It could be an ADU on-
Yeah.
Goes wrong.
All I can do is tell them what to do under the current code.
Right.
You want it as added as a study item, or, I mean, at this
No,
point, we're
I'm
off the
just
agenda.
wondering if I should just tell them to go get a good lawyer. And, no, it's because it is, it's a weaving thing. And then they can get represented that way.
We're a good engineer.
Okay, so, but my question is, how many ADUs do we have officially registered in the city?
Just off the top of
Just 4 or 5? Ken?
Officially registered? None.
So we have the one, we count the guys that we approved as one, so I know we have that, but we also have others that.
But I don't think even the one that we approved, I don't think they went and actually,
Finished it.
no. I don't think they actually went and recorded the document that says it's an ADU.
Yeah. Okay.
So officially, unless they record those documents
Yeah.
for the report, I cannot count them unless there is either a business license showing that they're a landlord or a recorded document saying that they have portion of their house is an ADU. We don't have, to my knowledge, we don't have anybody with that.
Is there any way to somehow audit that or something?
There's an issue here that's underlying and it's.
We probably need to put this as an agenda
Yeah.
item.
That we can ask folks to help us with things. And that the public doesn't understand it. I've had to deal with it personally in my lot. And I just took chances along the way that things would go well, and they did. But that's what the residents are up against. And if we're not getting any ADUs, maybe we need to change ADU laws or just,
That probably should be an agenda topic.
okay, I'm not gonna do this all at one ADU.
That'd be good, that would be a good topic.
Well, let's find out a little bit more. That's gonna be discussed tomorrow and then a few other things that'll happen.
If we discuss the ADUs, does that help with our affordable housing report for next fall? We have to do more than just talk about it, or more than make a change. No, if we make a change in code to make it easier for ADUs, okay.
We did that with some setback issues and things. We did that already. It's just the application of it. We haven't had a group of people move forward with it as of yet.
It's a perfect time. I mean, when you're constructing something and you want to put trusses on it, what kind of trusses we put on there? Well, if we want an ADU, then let's put those box trusses in and let's add some room upstairs, whether it's an quote, the awful word Airbnb or whether it's an ADU. And so it's a good time for somebody to come to us and say, we want an ADU. It's like, all right, do it. Invest the money. Thank you.
Everybody good?
I have one more suggestion, just coming from the last city council meeting. They made a suggestion for us to study the mixed use zone. I think they referred to it as wonky or messy, and ask that we take a look at that. So if I can just suggest that as a future study item.
Did they let you attend that? I thought we were told, of course, it might have just been me that I'm not allowed.
Are we not allowed to? I showed up. It was a public hearing.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Kidding.
I just need to make sure they stay in line.
There you go.
Accepted our
That's what we need. That's what we need. Okay.
I'm sorry. What was the question again? I had a question to follow your.
Oh, mixed use. Mixed
Mixed
zone.
use.
Study mixed use.
Right. Let's just get rid of it. It's been such a pain in the neck. I'm not sure what good it's done. We've only had a.
Well, if they've got criticisms or concerns, why don't they identify what the concerns are?
I think that's what they want
And
us to do. They want us to.
So
just
we don't have any.
We don't have
basically-
any.
Well, except there's, the developer, they just all agreed that it's something that deserves a little more looking
I
into.
think they're just
We
gonna push it off
recommended
on the
it, they adopted it. We
That's
didn't
right.
adopt it.
It was
So-
for me, so I was.
But just barely. This is fresh.
Well, I
This
guess
is a
what I
fresh
mean,
move.
Oh,
normally the way that an ordinance is created is either the public presents it to us in a form or staff on behalf of the city comes to us with an ordinance. I don't have time to sit down and figure out what is in their mind to make the changes in it. If they've got concerns, they should talk to staff and then staff should bring us a red line copy of it.
And that's what we got when we changed the mixed use.
well, maybe that's what I should do then, rather than to my fellow friends here, is ask you guys to maybe look at that and bring us, maybe some of your recommendations that are making it
Did they identify what their concerns were?
I don't think they identified wonky. And I would encourage that they go back and if you have questions, I'd go back and read it. If you think, if you identify something as wonky, please let the staff know. Yeah, we're passing it to you. We're passing it to you and you brought it up and we're passing it back to you.
I'm not supposed to. If I'm sounding aggressive, I apologize. But I'm just sitting here going, well, what's in their mind? And it's a long ordinance and we've put a lot of time into it. And I'm not vested in it one way or the other. But they're the persons that adopted it. If they had concerns at the time, maybe they should have.
And we have our first one that's actually being done with the current ordinance, so it'd be nice to see how that turns out, because we don't even have one that's turned out. So I was a little surprised at their comment, but I'd like to see where the current one goes, and I think the planning commission did an amazing job in investing that. But at this point, I think we're at the end of our agenda, and we probably ought to. So.
Let the benefit of that go where the needs to.
Credit to the staff.
Yeah, credit to that.
Tyler, do we have anything looking for a meeting on the 28th of June?
So city council moved their meeting to the 28th.
So you won't be meeting that night.
So our next meeting will be July 12th, which is by the procedures where we will elect chairperson and vice chair. So as I mentioned before,
Which day? Which one?
July 12th.
Better put that on the calendar.
Tyler's not here. Go ahead and just nominate.
Well, you know,
It's got to be on the
done
agenda.
that before.
When everybody shows up in their bathing suits, you know, they broke away from their latest party because they knew they should be here. And
So maybe we'll tell him it's the 13th. But anyway, let's think it over, contact me, please. And so we can be prepared and ready to deal with those things. Okay? Anybody have anything else? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make. What?
Got a